videos on data analysis using Excel. Basically, this video work through of the problem I set you in the advanced use of Excel Masterclass. So let's just remind you of the tasks. So this is what you see on the first tab. The Sheet 1 tab is just an introduction that I've used. So basically we're working with some height and weight data for males and females. They're random data, and we have an initial set of 26 bits of data, and we're going to be working out the BMI value, the BMI category for that, and we're going to do some data analysis on it. As I said, this is pilot data. The real survey data we'll capture later. We're actually not going to be doing that, but we're going to add in some additional data. And this really is just an example of setting up a spreadsheet and setting up a report that is automatically generated on the data. So if you can imagine you're doing a research project, you're capturing data, you capture some pilot data first, you do some analysis on it, check to see whether it's all okay, optimize the questions, optimize the data, optimize the presentation, and then you run your full survey. What you don't want to be doing is going through the full analysis again. What this little exercise does is it sets up a report, a formatted report with all the graphs and data and whatever text you want to put in there based on the pilot data, and then when you add in the real data, it automatically updates the report. So we've done all the hard work from the beginning, and we can set the report up so that it looks pretty and does all the analysis we want. So that's what we're aiming for. Just to set the scene, whenever I create a spreadsheet, I always actually like it to look pretty. So I don't want errors all over the place. I want it to be flexible, and I want it to be very useful. So the first thing you can see when you look at this data is there is a column A called sample, and that's a sample number. And at the moment it is just empty. So I want it to number the samples sequentially. So I want a 1, and then I want to number all of these sequentially. But as I said, I'm going to be adding more data in. So first of all, I don't want, I'm going to go up to 1,000. So what I could do is put 2 in here, 1, 2, and then if I pick up those 2 and carry it down, I could go down to 1,000. But down the bottom here, I'm going to have 972 empty lines, which I think looks pretty ugly. So what I'm going to do is start with a 1 in that cell, and in this cell here, I'm not going to put 2, I'm going to put an equation. And in the equation, it's going to be an if statement, and I'm going to test to see whether there's anything in the height data. If there isn't, in other words, if the height data is blank, I want a blank. If not, I want to add 1 to the cell immediately above it. So I reference the cell above it, add 1 to it, and close that, and that will put me a value in there. What's that done? That's because I've got a plus sign in there and not a comma. Okay. Too many arguments. If, oh no, it should have been the equals sign. Okay. So if B3 is blank, put a blank. If not, add 1 to the cell above. Okay, so that's now 2. So now if I copy that down, hey, all of these disappear. And if I add a new number in here, so if I add another 1.78, I get 27th data point. If I add 1 down here, 2.1, I get a value because there is nothing above here. So that tells me I'm not going to correct that, but what I need to be doing is just adding in data starting at that point there, that cell there, B28, and that's fine. I don't want blank lines of data anyway. So let's look back at the tasks. We're going to be adding in data, certainly no more than 1,000, but I will make it so that we can add 1,000 in. First task is to compute the BMI value. And BMI is weight divided by height squared. and show the result to 2 decimal places. Let's just quickly do that then. So weight divided by height squared. So the BMI value is weight, equals weight divided by height again. So that's height squared. Equally, I could go height raised to the power 2. Same thing, same result. Pop that in. And I can copy that cell down. But again, now look down here, I've got division by error, by 0 errors. That's because the height is empty, blank, which is interpreted as 0. Again, ugly, don't like to see that. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to put a conditional statement in. If the height is blank, I want a blank. If not, calculate me the BMI value. Okay, so if B2 height is blank, put a blank. If not, weight divided by height squared, the BMI value. Now if I copy this down, these 4 here magically disappear. Much better. Good. Okay. Now, the other thing it says is show the results to 2 decimal places. At the moment, these are a random number of decimal places. So I highlight the column. I go to Format Cells, Number, 2 decimal places. Hit OK. That formats it really nicely. Okay. So other than not copying this down to 1,000, we're okay. That sorts that out. And I can add new data in here. So if I add another 1.78 and a 90 this time, okay, it adds me a new line number in and it calculates the BMI value for me. So all's good so far. That's task 1 done. Next task is to determine the BMI category. So BMI category are over here. The BMI is less than 17.9, it's underweight. Between 18 and 24.99, it's healthy, etc. So what we're doing is, in this cell here, we're testing the value here against this lookup table and putting in the value of the BMI category. It isn't really a lookup table in the VLOOKUP Excel sense. It's just a series of tests. So we need a compound if statement. So if the value of the BMI is less than 17.99, the answer is it's underweight. If not, it's anything else. So it could be healthy, overweight, obese. So we need another test if BMI value is less than 24.99. Now, if it's less than 17.99, it will have already picked it up. So testing for less than 24.99 is basically testing it between 18 and 24.99. So if it is here, we want healthy. If not, it could be overweight, obese, or extremely obese. So another test, if E2 is less than 29.99 in this case, it is overweight. If it isn't overweight, it's either obese or extremely obese. If E2 is less than 39.99, it is obese. If it's not less than 39.99, it must be extremely obese. So extremely obese. So that's the end of our if. So we just close out all of the brackets, pop that in, and we see 25 is overweight. Perfect, which it is. 25 to 29.99 is overweight. I can now copy this down and get things that don't look quite right. Pick up this one, for example, 17.01 comes up as obese, is actually underweight. So something's gone wrong. And the thing that's gone wrong is that when I copy this equation down, every one of these cells is copied the reference to it is copied down. So E2 becomes E3, I3 becomes I4. Let's just see that working. E2 becomes E3, I3 becomes I4, which actually is not what we want. I don't want the I3 to change, I don't want the J3 to change. They're kind of locked cells. So I'll go back in and here edit this. To lock the cell, I put a dollar before the row and the column reference. So I'm basically locking all cells except E2. Let's just run through these, E2 again. And the final group, oops, not 4, dollar, 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 dollar. Okay, so now I've locked all cells in place except E2, so I get the same answer. This time, when I copy it down, I get 22.77 is healthy, yup, underweight 17.01, obese 34.48, it's between 30 and 39.9, so it's obese. Anything over 40 is extremely obese. There's one 44.32, extremely obese. So this is working. But look what we've got down here. We've got, where's extremely obese come from? Okay, the reason we've got extremely obese is because it's interpreting the value of this cell as blank. And blank, so it's failing the first test, failing the second test, failing the third test, failing the fourth test, so it must be that. Okay. So what I really want to be doing here is putting in another if, and I'm testing now to see whether the BMI value equals blank. If it is blank, put a blank. If not, calculate the BMI. So these top ones here don't change. Then these ones disappear. So it looks prettier again. So now if I add a new one in here again, 1.78 and 90, okay, it shows up as 28.41, which is overweight. So working, and it's putting a nice little number in there. Okay, so we can now copy this cell down to 1,000, or actually 1,001 because 3,001, and I can copy these two down to 1,001 as well, with confidence that they're actually not going to, nothing's going to appear in any of those cells. Okay, so I can now add in nearly 1,000 pieces of data, provided I start at this point here and then there are no blank lines, everything will get filled in. And just to check that, I do actually have some additional data here, a few extra little bits. So I'll copy those into item weight. So starting at that cell there, the order is the same, height, weight and sex. Pop those in and look, it automatically populates this and gets everything right. Okay, 31.05 obese. Good, let's just get rid of those then. So we have now completed task 2. Fairly straightforward calculation and lookup, converting it to words, but it looks pretty. Okay, so I'm going to stop here on this video and then we'll look at how to set the report up in the next video.